Oh, hello there, and welcome back to the Fantasy Workshop. In this video, we will be saying goodbye to this little workshop. But more about that later in the video, so do hang on, because for now, let's have a little look at all the beautiful things I have created in this small, tiny little workshop. The Master Sword wall mount. My first video. It seems like such a long time ago. This is where it started with all the awkward camera angles. Also using my router for the first time and absolutely falling in love with it. Don't you just love looking at the back of my head? Putting the details in turned out to be quite difficult, but with a little bit of paint and some final details, it turned out quite pretty, don't you think? In the second video, I showed you the entire workshop. The first proper workshop I've ever had. But honestly, who came up with these camera angles? I couldn't even cut straight. But after some work, I managed to make the first corner for the elven mirror. Although I messed up and I had to adventure to buy more wood. But after some more hard work, I finished all 4 of the corners. And then it was time for everyone's favorite tool to add those lovely little details. And with some extra small other details, the frame was ready. All that was left was to add the mirror itself and some finish. And the elven mirror was done. Spring has arrived in Sweden. Well, at least it did when I made the mushroom tiles for the garden. I guess technically I'm not in the workshop here and I will not be saying goodbye to my house yet. But sometimes you just want to work from the comfort of your kitchen. At least for a little bit, because I also prefer to not accidentally ruin my dining table. Oh yes. I remember ordering way too little silicone for the project and I had to fill up the rest with sand. Luckily that all worked out and I could make the tiles. Just add a little bit of paint and the tiles were all done. I guess after putting the mushroom tiles in the garden, I wanted to continue playing a little bit in the dirt. And since I had some concrete leftovers, I decided to make some bird baths. They are actually fairly easy to create. And I would love to experiment a little bit more with concrete in the future. Let's take a little break from all of that and talk about why I'm leaving this workshop. Because the reason is actually very exciting. I have found a bigger workshop, much bigger. And I will show you a little preview of that at the end of this video. So stay tuned for that. But first, let's have another look at my favorite project that I did in this tiny little workshop. And also, I need to start picking up this space a little bit and move everything to the bigger workshop. Everything starts with a base, including my most loved video, the fantasy lantern. This base, however, was a little bit rough. But I decided to just continue with the next part. And guess what? It looked even worse. But that shouldn't stop me from having fun. Sometimes projects don't fully go according to plan, but I just keep on going. After a while, the lantern started to look like something. I've never built anything like this before and I really enjoyed it. All I needed was a couple more pieces to the puzzle including the top. Oops. And then it was time to start with the ornaments, which included a lot of sanding. As you can see, a tiny workshop quickly turns into a giant mess. Soon after all the different pieces were created, it was assembly time. But this also did not go without issues, because I messed up in which order the parts had to go, and so I ended up cutting it all apart again. Okay, this time I'm gluing it up for real. I added the final ornaments. A little bit of color and protection. And the lantern was all done. And then onto the final project that I did, which was the key from a book called The Key Keeper. In case you haven't checked out the book yet, please do so. It is a fantastic book. This was a fun and small project in which I could practice a little bit more with 3D printing. And why does every project always include sanding? Anyways, with a couple of layers of paint and some dirt wash, the key came out great. Then it was time for a little bit of freestyling and I built a stand for it. After that, the key was finished. Alright everyone, that's it for this tiny little workshop. It's been an absolute pleasure to build everything I did here. It was truly the first workshop I've ever had. Now we will turn it into a shed, store our bikes here, I don't know, some things for the garden. If you are curious to see more about the bigger workshop, there will be many updates coming on the new workshop, and I think it's so very exciting that I get to build everything myself, and I want to capture all of that and turn it into a video series called Building the Fantasy Workshop, the actual fantasy workshop. Yeah, so if that sounds interesting, please do subscribe, follow along, and I can't wait to see you again in the next video from the bigger workshop.